I'm Matt Valley, and welcome to episode number 79 of the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the research and insights pros that you trust. Very excited today to welcome Elizabeth Saulsbury to the podcast. Hey, Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth has been with Cox Enterprises for the past 4.5 years or so. The first 2.5 were as a research analyst, and the last 2 have been as an employment brand manager. Now, for those who aren't immediately familiar with Cox, you've probably used some of Cox Automotive's brands in the past, things like the Auto Trader and the Kelley Blue Book, of course. And Cox Communications is, in fact, the nation's largest private broadband company. Now, a couple of interesting facts about Cox. They've long been recognized as a leading company for women and has 13 times been ranked among Diversity Inc.'s top 50 companies. So really good stuff. But why I'm so thrilled to have Elizabeth with me today is she just launched her debut album. So cool. Something like 10 days ago or so, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. So it's a very cool EP of holiday tunes called Peppermint. And it's really awesome stuff. It's available right now on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music. In fact, all the same places you can get the Rock and Roll Research Podcast. So after you listen to this episode, why don't you go to your favorite podcasting site and do a twofer. Do a twofer, Elizabeth Saulsbury and the Rock and Roll Research Podcast. All right, we're going to talk about all that and more on today's podcast. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. I have my colleague at Market Vision, Colleen Hennigan, to thank for that. She alerted me to your record and I listened to it and I love it. It's really great stuff. You're an amazing singer, I must say.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of got me in a Christmas mood. I don't own an ugly Christmas sweater, unfortunately. So the best I can do is a red dive bar t-shirt. So I hope that's all right.
Very festive. It's perfect.
All right. Okay, cool. So let's talk career first. So tell us about how you got to Cox in a research role and how you've moved out of that into more of a consumer of research role.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm really impressed with the research you've done on the company. Cox is one of those places, they cross so many different industries and have so many different brands. Sometimes people have heard of them, but they're not always sure, what all the different divisions of the company are. But you're correct. I started at Cox Automotive back in 2018 in the research and market intelligence department. So think of it as an in-house agency that services all of the automotive brands. It's a really terrific group of researchers.
Cool.
I hadn't had any formal research experience before I joined that team, so they really took me under their wing, and it was just a fantastic experience. And then at the end of 2020, at that point, I had networked within the company to a bit, and I knew I wanted to move into more of a marketing role,
Okay.
a consumer of research, as you say.
Sure.
So yeah, now I'm at the parent company, Cox Enterprises, which is the holding company for Cox Auto, Cox Communications. I focus on employment branding, so storytelling and promoting Cox is a great place to work.
Very cool. Very cool. So let me dig a little bit into that research position. So you mentioned you took the role without having any formal experience coming in. So what was attractive about it, and what was it about you that made them say, you know what, sure, let's give this a try?
Wow. Okay. So as far as the first question, what was attractive? I heard about this role through a mentor and friend of mine who worked remotely for Cox in Johnson City, Tennessee, which is where I'm from originally. Okay. So that was the inroad. And for one thing, I think the size of the company and the purpose-focused mission, just a really solid foundation. I saw that this was a company doing a lot of good in the world, where I had lots of runway to grow, and being in my early career, I was just ready to soak it all in. As far as what made me attractive to them, I can't speak 100% to that, except I try to always be the hardest worker in the room, and I was ready to learn and to dig in deep. And again, it was just a fantastic team to coach me through that.
Cool, cool. So now that you are, like I said, a consumer of research, you have been a researcher, so you know what's good and what's not good.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about how that works for you.
The experience I gained on that first research team in auto really, I didn't see it at the time, but I think it's positioned me very well for the rest of my career.
Okay.
You know how it is, Matt. You just understand the value of data so much more
Right.
once you've been part of it. So my current team here on the employment brand side is very research and data focused. Everything we do is driven by data.
Mhm.
And especially working in employment brand during things like the Great Resignation and
Yeah.
quiet quitting and all these other terms that have been, hot button issues for the past couple of years, it's been more important than ever for us to listen and understand the audiences we're talking to.
Yeah, there's in my time in this space, I feel like there's been this seismic shift. I remember a research manager when I was just a young guy at what is now Thomson Reuters, working in a giant corporation. And my research manager was lamenting how all the people in the executive positions, none of them came from research, right? They came from sales. And of course, it's like, hey, the closer you are to the dollar that comes in the door, the more important you are. At least that was the thinking. But it's really changed where I love to hear you say that research has provided this excellent foundation for you, because I think there's a real appreciation for that, not just for the importance of data, but also how hard it is to get good data and being able
Mhm.
to recognize what's good and what's bad, what can help you and what can mislead you.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think especially nowadays, consumers, so we're talking consumer research here. Consumers are just saturated with messages constantly. Everyone is vying for their attention. And I think brands and researchers and companies are learning to pivot. And instead of blasting these messages at consumers all the time, learning to take a step back and listen to what consumers are saying to them.
Yep. Yes. Yes. Preach. I love it. Excellent. All right. So let's talk some music.
Cool.
So you've just released a debut EP. It's so cool. It's got to be such a
Thanks.
great feeling.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah, and let me just say the production is really, really nice. The voice is front and center. So I consider it very much a vocal album.
Mhm.
But whoever you got to play the drums, he's got some nice, tasty swing beats going on. So I'm really digging it. So I just gotta.
He's I'm so lucky to have this band. And it's funny you say that actually. The drummer and then the other two vocalists, the acoustic guitarist and the electric guitarist, they're all Cox employees as well. So
Really?
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. A company band.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I've wanted that my whole life. It's never happened.
You be careful, Matt. I work in employment branding. I might just recruit you over here.
Uh-oh, look out. Look out. Okay, so before we talk about your record, let's hear about how your interest in singing or music came about. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so music has always been part of my life. I started playing piano when I was 5. I started performing when I was 12, piano. So yeah, it's just always been very foundational to who I am. And I've always dreamed of recording and releasing music. And I'm just in a time of life and a place in life where I'm able to do that now. So holiday music in particular is very important to me. And as I was, really digging in deep and committing to this, I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's push out a holiday record before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been just such a fun and rewarding experience.
Great. Well, for this holiday year, it will definitely join my pantheon of favorite holiday records, which I like props. So all-time favorite, you get no argument from most people, is the Vince Guaraldi Charlie Brown Christmas album.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, top tier.
Absolutely. I'm also a big fan of the classic Elvis Christmas album, where he
Yeah.
performs Blue Christmas just as you do on this new record, Peppermint. So let's talk Peppermint. But before we do that, let's just give it a quick listen, shall we?
Cool.
All right.
Well, his eyes are blue as snow globes, and he's no fool, I think he knows. I try not to stare his way, he's enough to drive a girl insane. So I'm gonna be cool as peppermint, I'm gonna be icy as snow, I'm gonna be shiny as tinsel. Come on baby, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna be frosty as nightfall, intoxicate you like cranberry wine.
Okay. All right. So you can hear some of that great contemporary loungy jazz feel, right? So I kind of think of like Diana Krall or people like that. It's just got such a nice feel to it and a nice groove to it. Really awesome stuff. So tell us about how this came about. And then I'd love to hear about Peppermint specifically, because a lot of the EP is sort of standards, right?
Mhm.
But Peppermint is an original composition. So I'll throw that over to you.
Yeah. Well, as far as the record as a whole, I was really empowered to do this project by my mentor here at Cox. I mentioned we have an employee band. His name's John Kovac. If he's listening to this, he's a music guy himself and a music appreciator. And he cobbled together this ragtag group of employees who do events at Cox and that sort of thing. And that was really a pivotal moment, I think, for me, playing with these amazing musicians and having an audience at my day job. Like, that's unbelievable. I never would have thought my marketing day job would intersect with my music side. So that's the first thing. He really empowered me. He encouraged me. I confided in him about this project before anyone had listened to it. So a shout out to him. As far as the songs go, and specifically Peppermint, yeah, that's a scary moment of vulnerability to put a song you wrote out in the universe. But it was time. It had been I wrote and arranged it back in May. Just, it popped into my head while I was driving, and I knew I liked it. So it was time to push it out into the universe. And I'm thrilled to know so many people are enjoying it.
Yeah, cool. So I play the drums, right? And one thing that struck me as I was listening to it, thinking about the fact that it was an original composition, is for me, I play drums in a punk band, right? So first of all, I'm already in the background because I'm the drummer. Second of all, sloppiness, loudness is a virtue, right? And so you can make all the mistakes you want. You can just, it's not really throwing yourself out there like it is with yours, with this really crisp vocal production. So it's your song, your voice is right there front and center. That really does have to be a vulnerable kind of thing.
Yeah, but again, I'm lucky. I have a really supportive network of family and friends who are in my corner, and I've been encouraged all my life, ever since I learned how to play the piano and sing. And it was time. This is something that had been in my mind for honestly years, and being able to put it out in the universe has been a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, it helps when you have a wonderful voice and you have really cultivated, beautiful vocal technique. So, I mean, I can't say enough about it. I was really impressed. So,
Well, thanks. Lots of singing in the shower, lots of singing in the car. That'll do it.
All right, so you have devoted so much time and effort to singing in your life, and of course you've got a day job, corporate day job. Are there any lessons that you've learned and applied from one to the other?
That's such an interesting question. Yeah, I think music and marketing in particular have some very distinct similarities. They're both storytelling.
Yeah,
They both require cohesion, you know. Take Peppermint, for example. There are common themes I'm trying to reiterate throughout that song, using similes throughout it, and holiday and winter types of personifications and that kind of thing.
yeah.
It's the same type of thing with marketing. You got to have a clear story you're trying to tell, and tell it in a clean way. So I think that's really the main thing, is being an empathetic storyteller. That's
Mhm.
really the key to me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, which you could say that's the key to marketing as well. Exactly. So
Mhm.
cool. Awesome. So let's talk about again your move from being a researcher to now being a consumer of research. So that's probably expanded or grown your perspective on research, I would imagine. So from your seat, there's so much changing in this space. Like you said, consumers have little attention spans and all that good stuff. So what does the future of data or consumer research look like from your vantage point?
Ooh. Well, so I would go back to what I said earlier. I think consumers, and especially the younger generation of consumers that are entering the marketplace, are more cynical of brand voices than
Yeah,
arguably any that came before them, because they are surrounded by advertising all the time. They're extremely discerning, and
yeah,
I don't mean this in a negative way. I think some pessimism as a consumer is a good thing, but to me, that's the biggest shift. Is you have to be sensitive to the fact that your consumers aren't looking for you to blow your own horn all the time, right? Like
yeah,
they don't care for these messages about, look how great we are. Like it's fluff. You
yeah,
have to be sensitive to the fact that they need quick messages. They have short
yeah.
attention spans. They want to hear what's in it for them quickly, and they want to get out. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I read a really interesting think piece last night where, so much of marketing over the past 10 or 15 years about messaging that we've heard is about connecting to a broader goal, right? So forget about the product. What is the consumer really trying to accomplish? What are their bigger goals, their bigger dreams? And a lot of marketing messaging has sort of been around that rather than what specifically the product does. So solving a bigger problem. And the thought piece said that that age is done because consumers are onto us, particularly
Mhm.
younger consumers. They figured that out. They don't have the time to draw the connection between, what their life goals are and what this product is going to do for them tomorrow. So I think there's some rethinking that needs to be done based on, what consumers are like now and what they've been able to figure out.
You're absolutely right, Matt. And especially in, my focus is employment brand and
Mhm.
helping people get hired at Cox. And you think
Yeah,
about the job search journey, and I hope it's okay that I say this on your podcast, like what a pain in the ass that is.
sure.
Like,
All good.
I should have asked you that before we started.
It's all good.
But it's a pain in the ass, right? Searching for your job. So yes, we do want to be true to our brand and help consumers understand what our company is like and who we are. But they also are looking for that quick hitting information about, what are my healthcare benefits?
Right.
Why is this place different from any of the other jobs I've applied to? And that's what we're trying to lean into here at Cox.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. All right, Elizabeth. So you're a busy person, right? Obviously, you listen to music. I figured that out. And you're also very attuned to your job. So thinking about the limited time that you have to consume media, interested to know what media you consume, either for insight or enjoyment.
Mm. I am busy, and I'm learning to compartmentalize more, like music versus marketing and that sort of thing. I've gotten better at it, but there are certainly times either during the workday or after the workday when it's time for a refresh.
Yeah.
I would honestly say, maybe this is too on the nose, but I would say the biggest way I reset my brain is by playing piano. That's always been just, cathartic for me. And I've got my keyboard here in my apartment. So there are times, sometimes I need to step away from my computer and take a few minutes to just, it could be working on an arrangement or doing a song for an upcoming, performance at Cox or something like that. But yeah. So I don't know if that counts as consuming media, but besides that, I'm a big reader as well. So I find that's the most effective way to clear the cobwebs. And then, going to the movies, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a holiday performance that you do at Cox?
Actually, yes, it's coming up on the 14th, I think. I should probably know the date, but Cox has an annual big Toys for Tots event that they do at our main campus in Atlanta. It's a big holiday celebration. So me and the band will be set up there and performing.
Now, do you have those times when, let's say an internal client of yours or something, like they don't know you're a singer and all of a sudden they see you on stage and then they hear this big voice, they're like, oh my God.
Well, it's so funny how the tables have turned, because it did start out that way. People I work with, they're like, I didn't know you played piano. I didn't know you sang. And now I pass people in the cafeteria or that kind of thing, and they do this. They're like, oh, you're the piano girl. And they don't even, they're like, do you work here? I'm like, yes. So, yeah.
Oh, too funny. Yeah, I had that experience years ago when I worked for GFK. We had, some big sales offsite or whatever, and there was a band that was hired to play. And then all of a sudden, someone's like, oh my God, that's Audra Preluck, one of our coworkers. And she's up on stage, just had this huge voice. So I actually had her on the podcast. I think she was episode number 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I've had that moment on the other side. It's like, oh my God, where did that voice come from, Audra? It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Super cool. All right. So this is what I really want to know.
Oh gosh.
And I'm very curious, right? I'm curious because I've heard your music. You've put it out there to the world. So it's a different question than asking who your influences are, right? But imagine yourself, Elizabeth, you're stranded on a desert island, right? You've got a record player because it's got to be vinyl.
Yeah, of course.
And you have 3 records of your choosing to keep you company for the rest of your days. What are they?
Wow. I love that question. And I can already tell it's going to be one that I think of later. And I'm like, oh, I should have said this. Well, let me start by saying this. My music taste is weird. It's not even like, I can't even say it's eclectic, right? I have great music taste. It's just strange. Like my Spotify Wrapped it's embarrassing. So let me start with that. So, okay. So the first thing I'll say is I love musical theater and Broadway and show tunes. And I like listening to albums that have a story with them. I think that's why.
Yeah.
So I got to have some show tunes out there on this island. So I will say Les Miserables is one of my favorites. And
very nice.
My favorite recording is, I think it's, oh gosh, is it 1988 or 1998? It's a symphonic cast recording and it's just a masterpiece. And that should keep me occupied for a while. So that's number 1.
Very nice.
Yeah. Are you a Les Mis fan as well, Matt?
I'm more of a My Fair Lady fan, but that's okay.
And that's actually one of my favorite pieces of vinyl I have is the original cast recording of My Fair Lady. But
me too. I have that as well.
Look at this, a man of taste. Okay, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Les Mis. Number 2, I think probably something with a little bit of soul to it. I'm going to need some cheering up on that desert island.
Sure.
So, maybe like I have a Monkees record I really love, or maybe
the Monkees.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe Marvin Gaye and oh gosh, I've forgotten them. It's the yellow record. United.
Ah, okay,
that
yeah.
could be a good one. So, something with a little bebopping to it might be nice.
Okay, so do we count that as Marvin Gaye, or do we count that as?
Let's do Marvin Gaye. Yeah,
Okay,
that
yeah.
feels right to
Good
me.
stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then number 3, I'm gonna go with something more modern. And so my favorite modern currently active artist is Lana Del Rey. I'm influenced by her sound a lot.
Yeah.
And it's oh gosh. So I'll say Lana Del Rey, her Honeymoon record. That's my favorite she has. So that'll be number 3.
Outstanding. Excellent. Well, I should say that this week, once again, thanks to David Corsero, it was episode 77, I think. He said, Matt, why don't you do a Spotify playlist for the Rock and Roll Research Podcast? All of these Desert Island discs. So this week I'm going to get to it. So I'm going to add your choices to that playlist. And, with your permission, I will also add Peppermint. I would love for people to be able to hear that.
Please,
It's beautiful stuff. So cool. Awesome. Excellent. Well, I hope everybody checks that out. Again, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you get your music. Check out Elizabeth Saulsbury's Peppermint just in time for the holidays. So great stuff. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I've really enjoyed this. Really glad we met. So let's talk soon and rock and roll.
Rock and roll, Matt. Thanks so much.
All right.